name's Melissa, and I live in Florida. I got a bachelor's degree in English, and I've been writing fiction for about 8 or 9 years. Before that, I was just kind of dabbling in poetry, so I've had a couple poems published for contests. But I just published my first novel, and it's called Sea of Kings. It's a middle grade fantasy adventure about two brothers on a quest to rescue their family from pirates, and it's got monsters, mystery, and a little bit of magic.
And so much to talk about. I was looking over your biography earlier, and I noticed that you had moved from Canadian winters to Florida summers, and I was just curious. Did you notice that having an impact on your personality, such a drastic change in your climate?
From moving from Canada to Florida?
Yeah, I didn't know if that had brought about like a slightly different version of Melissa. Like, oh, this was what I would have been like if I had been warm all those winters.
It might have. I mean, I did a lot of growing up in that time for a bunch of different aspects of my life. So I definitely feel like I'm a different person. I don't know if the weather made a big change, but I do think the weather influenced my writing for Sea of Kings, because I could be in that setting that the book is set in and feel it and smell it and touch it and just really immerse myself into like a tropical world.
That is a wonderful transition. Let's talk about the book. Sea of Kings. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. You've got a powerhouse YouTube channel, Hopeful Happenings, that esteemed audience can check out as soon as they're finished watching us on this channel, obviously, and as soon as they subscribe. Head to Hopeful Happenings. It'll blow your mind. I've got all kinds of questions for you about that, about your social media presence. But let's talk about Sea of Kings newly available, because you've been working on this book since you came up with the idea in college originally, right?
Yes, so it's been a long time. This was actually the first novel that I completed, and that was years ago. And my husband actually kind of played a part in helping me create the idea for it and work through some of the earlier drafts, because he's a marine biologist, and so he was immersed in the ocean from the get-go, and we kind of just collaborated and worked together to write this book.
So did this start off with just kind of a story you were telling each other, or was it a joke that evolved into a story?
Well, when I first met him, he had just returned from the Bahamas. He had been doing an internship there, working for several months with sharks. He'd been tagging like lemon sharks and bull sharks, and just it was actually on an island called Bimini. And he came back so one of the things about the Bahamas is these little tiny islands, some of them are so small that they don't have anything there. So from what I gather, he didn't have like any access to the internet really. And he was just kind of like in this little isolated bubble for several months. So he had a lot of time to think, and one of the things that he thought about was, what if there were kingdoms on each of these tiny islands? What if there were different societies on each of these islands? What would that look like? And when we first met and started dating and everything, he shared that idea with me. And so that was like the initial spark for the book, was the world. What if there were kingdoms on these islands? And then from there, we kind of created the characters, and it was just kind of something fun that we did for a couple years. Finally, I got to the point where I was like, I need to write this down. So, and then it was years later.
Your actual world, as well as now this fantasy world that you're building between you at the start of your relationship.
Yeah, so we've been connected with this book from the very beginning. It's just been a really cool thing to do with him, because it has nothing to do with our jobs or our like life as parents. It's just like something just for us that we can talk about. And yeah, I'm really happy that we could do it together.
So what does esteemed audience need to know about the newest and bestest version, I assume, of the book that's now available from Jellyfish Press?
Well, it just came out. So it came out on April 27th, 2021. And you can get it anywhere. And I really hope that you will check it out and read it. It's fun. It's got tons of action. It's got monsters. And I really put a lot of heart into the whole thing. But like the two main characters are brothers. And I love the relationship that they have. They're the kind of characters that sort of wrote themselves. Maybe you know what I'm talking about, where you just have someone that is so real to you that it just kind of like is natural in the dialogue that comes out. And so that's the two brothers for me, and I really love them, and I just hope that I can share the story with as many people as possible because I love it so much.